Everything just changed in WWE. Cody Rhodes is breaking down barriers, Brock Lesnar is sending a message that will echo through the entire roster, Roman Reigns is walking away from everything, and Rhea Ripley is left standing in the center of absolute chaos. This is the moment that redefines the entire landscape of professional wrestling. If you want to understand what's happening right now, what it means, and where this story leads us next, you need to be part of the WWE Express community. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell right now because we're about to break down one of the most significant storytelling moments in modern wrestling history. Let's talk about what just happened, and why it matters more than you might realize. The greatest wrestling stories aren't always about matches and championships. They're about the moments when everything shifts. They're about the instant when a narrative takes a turn that nobody fully anticipated, when characters are forced to make decisions that will define their entire legacy. What we're witnessing right now across WWE is exactly that kind of story. And to understand where we're going, we need to understand the three distinct threads that are pulling this narrative in completely different directions. First, let's address the Cody Rhodes situation directly. Cody has always been the warrior who believes he can overcome any obstacle through sheer will and preparation. He's the man who spent years planning his return, who envisioned reclaiming what his family legacy demanded, and who has consistently proven that his word is his bond. But now something has changed fundamentally. When we talk about Cody Rhodes breaking in, and we need to frame this carefully as the storytelling direction WWE seems to be exploring, we're talking about a man pushed to his absolute limit. The psychology here is fascinating because Cody has never been the type to operate outside the rules. He's always been the honorable competitor. But if the story goes where it appears to be heading, we're about to see what happens when an honorable man is backed into a corner where honor no longer seems sufficient. This is character development at its finest. This is WWE taking their most principled superstar and showing us what desperation looks like when it wears Cody Rhodes' face. The implication that Cody might operate in morally gray territory opens up a completely different chapter in his wrestling journey. He's spent years building this reputation as the American nightmare who does things the right way. But what happens when doing things the right way keeps leaving him on the outside looking in? What happens when the universe keeps telling him that honor isn't enough? This is the moment where Cody's character becomes genuinely unpredictable. And in professional wrestling, an unpredictable Cody Rhodes is infinitely more dangerous than a predictable one. Now let's shift our focus to something equally significant. Brock Lesnar squashing Femi is a statement wrapped inside a wrestling match. Femi has been one of the most dangerous rising stars in professional wrestling. He's a generational talent who combines unprecedented size, strength, and athleticism with a meanness that feels genuinely dangerous. He's been positioned as an unstoppable force, a man who could redefine what WWE's heavyweight division looks like. And then Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate, shows up and reminds everyone why his resume is what it is. When we talk about Brock squashing Femi, we're talking about a veteran at the absolute peak of his destructive abilities completely dismantling a prospect who represents the future of the company. This match tells us several crucial things about WWE's creative direction. First, it tells us that Brock Lesnar still has a role to play in this story. He's not done. He's not satisfied with his legacy. The beast wants more. Second, it sends a message about Femi. This isn't about destroying a young star's career. WWE knows better than that. This is about teaching the entire locker room that there are tiers to this business. There are generational talents, and then there's Brock Lesnar. Femi can recover from this. He's too talented, too physically gifted to be kept down. But this loss teaches him something invaluable about what it takes to operate at the highest level. The psychology of this squash match is that it elevates both men simultaneously. It reminds us why Lesnar is essential television, and it positions Femi's comeback story as something genuinely compelling. But here's where this gets even more complex. While Brock is establishing dominance, we have a completely different dynamic unfolding with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns walking away from everything is perhaps the most destabilizing element in this entire equation. Roman has been the gravitational center of WWE for years. Whether people loved him or hated him, Roman Reigns was the man around which every other story had to be positioned. Roman represented a version of wrestling stability. Even when he was playing a heel, even when he was the antagonist, there was certainty to Roman's presence. The bloodline was his faction. The tribal chief was his identity. The position at the top of WWE was his by right. And now Roman is walking away. This creates a power vacuum that nothing in professional wrestling can fill. There's no single superstar who can immediately step into that void. And that's exactly what makes this moment so creatively rich. Because now we have multiple ambitious wrestlers looking up at a throne that nobody occupied, all thinking the same thing: maybe I'm next. Maybe I'm the one who defines the era that comes after Roman Reigns. This is where Rhea Ripley enters the narrative in a way that's absolutely fascinating. Rhea Ripley has been operating in the orbit of larger-than-life characters. She's been presented as a formidable competitor, as a woman who can stand beside the absolute biggest names in the company and match their intensity and their presence. But with Roman stepping back, with the bloodline facing an existential crisis, with Cody in this position of moral uncertainty, and with Brock Lesnar reminding everyone what dominance looks like, Rhea is standing at a crossroads. Does she rebuild the bloodline? Does she step away from that faction entirely? Does she recognize that the landscape has shifted and position herself as the singular most dangerous wrestler on the entire roster? The reason all of this matters, the reason we're talking about it right now on WWE Express, is because professional wrestling at its absolute best is about character, psychology, and consequence. When creative decisions echo through an entire roster, when they change the way we perceive the hierarchy, when they create genuine questions about what happens next, that's wrestling storytelling operating at the highest level. We're watching the architecture of WWE's future get rebuilt in real time. The months ahead are going to reveal whether these creative choices are building something extraordinary or whether they represent a moment of instability. But what we know right now is that everything has changed. Cody is crossing lines he swore he never would. Brock is violent and hungry in ways we haven't seen in years. Roman's absence creates a void that terrifies and excites the entire locker room simultaneously. And Rhea Ripley is standing in the center of absolute chaos, possibly more dangerous than she's ever been. This is the story that matters. This is why professional wrestling continues to captivate us. Thank you for diving deep into this analysis with WWE Express. If you loved breaking down what this story means and where it's heading next, please hit that subscribe button. Join our community of wrestling fans who understand that the matches are important, but the psychology, the character development, and the narrative consequence, that's what makes wrestling unforgettable. Subscribe to WWE Express right now and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our latest updates, and we'll break down every twist, every turn, and every moment that defines what comes next.